Welcome to the first episode of Have You Lost the Plot? This is a podcast by me, Dr. Soundy, about different stories, paths, and possibilities. In this first episode, I'll introduce the main concepts that we're going to look at in terms of stories and illness, and we'll consider what happens when an illness interrupts living, stops living. It means that living's more difficult, that people will respond in different ways to that. And really, each episode is about a particular response, a particular story that someone's told in response to something significant that's happened to change their world and their life. So these stories can represent a fight, a retreat, looking back, looking forward, discovering new ways of seeing the world, new ways of engaging with the world, or reflecting on the limitations the world now presents. So over the years, I've collected these stories, and what is interesting about these stories is they contain different information. So the information that's really fascinating regarding these stories is two things. Firstly, as the title image shows, that during illness, people might find themselves at some sort of crossroads, which reflects an ability to look forward, backward, to stay in the present. And the second thing is the story is a map, and the psychological map. And the story contains emotions, adaptation, and hope. And I based that on a model I called the Mia. And I just want to show you a very quick picture of that model. If I can share screen again. Let's share screen. Okay, so this is the map. Hopefully you can see the map. And what we have is a spectrum of hope and a spectrum of adaptation and some critical points around how people are feeling about the story, and the story they tell can be represented by a map. So it can be represented by a map and it can be represented by a crossroad. So think about the first image, the title image, and think about this image. So we're thinking about how the story you're hearing is located in time. Does it point backwards to what you used to do, things that were really important to you then? Does it point forwards? Can it point forwards? Might not be able to. Does it have hope, in other words? And what does it accept about what's happening, or can it embrace things, or does it not? And then also, when we talk about the Mia map, we're also referring to emotions. So, what emotions are contained in the story? And really, I think I hit on that more in episode 3 when we look at regressive narratives. And we'll explore what that means in that episode. But for now, I want you to remember the two images we've got here. One's a psychological map, which is here. Just to be clear, no wrong or right placement on the map. Okay, that's never an issue for me. Not concerned where people are, just concerned about the understanding that there could be limits, there could be traps, there could be opportunities when we hear and listen to other stories. And the first story I want to talk about today is called The Adventure Story. And that located on that map in that compass point on the top right quadrant. So it was an interesting story, and it's a story from a lady when I did some research on stroke, and this is found in a particular paper that I did on stroke, and it's called the Adventure Plot. So I met a lady who had suffered a stroke, and she told me stories that 4 years before the stroke happened, she started to think about things differently. She'd say things like, I've had the advantage of falling over. This is 4 years before my stroke. I fell over and I smashed my face. I tripped on a paving stone and I lost the sight in one eye. And from that point onward, it gave me the advantage of looking at life as learning new things. I had the advantage of what I call adventures, meeting people unexpectedly in the street and being taken for coffee and finding out about them has been fascinating, actually. So, what was interesting is that plot, that story that had happened before the stroke came into the stroke and made this person look at life in quite a remarkable way. And I think what one thing I want to draw us back to is the two things. One, the crossroad image and the time point. Where does the story point? It begins in the past. It's about a loss of something, but it doesn't stay there. It uses the event to look forward in a particular way, and that has value for subsequent events, in this case, the stroke. So that's the time point. An ability to look forward is established, and that works quite well. The second thing is the Mia map. So we've got this emotional curiosity, which is great. Adaptation is openness or embracement at one particular end. The hope is that tomorrow may contain something worth discovering. There's possibility there, in a wonderful way. So the map for me is encouraging, is positive. Um, and as we start to look to bring this episode together, we start to think about um, what plots people might be telling you following illness, what plots you're describing from illness, um, where in time the plot lies. And is it stuck? Can it move forward? Is it in the present? Are there other stories? Can you look forward to an adventure in a similar way? So hopefully what this has done in a short way on this podcast is think about the ways, remarkable ways people can respond to stories. The map saying there's no wrong or right way, but there is different and interesting ways. So this first episode will stop there. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking to you through the second episode shortly. Bye for now.